What's going on, everybody? We're back for another Acceptable Casualties battle report. Today we'll be playing the Gunslinger's Paradise. We got about 150 points. We'll be playing the Raid. It's Outlaws against Sioux Indians. We'll be back in a second to go over the list and deployment. We are back, and here is the Outlaw List. It's a $150 list. The poker stack is 8 chips to begin with. Starting from the top, we have Ambrose Burroughs. He's the boss, our Tier 1 character. He has twin single-action revolvers and a boot knife. Skills-wise, he took a +1 aim and mastermind. Underneath him, we have Tucson Tim Crenshaw. He's our gunfighter from Tier 2. He's bringing a lawbringer and a boot knife. Skills, he has fanning. Under him, we have Charlie Dupree. He's our highwayman. He has a Chesterfield and a lever-action shotgun. He's armed to the teeth. He has rifleman and shotgun expert. Underneath there, we got George Polk, our rustler. He's going to be carrying a sawed-off shotgun, a Bowie knife, and then he has knife fighter as his skill. And underneath him, we have Stitch Myers. He's our jack-of-all-trades. He has a lever-action rifle and then a Wilderness 44 sidearm, and his skills are Aces High and Fortify. We'll be back in a second to go over the Sioux. All right, so we are back for our Sioux, $150. Our stack of chips is only at a 6 because we went a little bit heavier on the low-quality troops. So at top, we have Chief Crooked Branch. He's going to be our Sioux chief. He's carrying a lever-action rifle and a throwing knife. His skills are Mastermind and Glorious Death. Underneath him, we have our Sioux Medicine Man, a Sleeping Bear. He has a percussion revolver and a stone club with Good Medicine as his skill. Underneath him, we have our Sioux Warrior, Gray Cloud. He has a Hawkeye rifle and a gunstock club with a +1 vitality and ferocity for his skill. Underneath them, we ended up taking 5 Buffalo Hunters, all of them mounted on horseback. Everybody on the list is actually mounted on horseback, and they're all armed with composite bows and throwing knives. So, like I said, this is our lift at 150 points or $150, and we have 6 ships to start. So we'll be back in a second to go over the scenario, which is the raid and deployment. All right, so we are back for deployment. Like I said, this is the scenario is the raid. It's page 122 in the rule book. So Vin had to pick 3 of his guys to put on the table. 2 come off. They'll be available for reserve at the top of turn 3 for activation. Vin dropped 3 of his loot objectives. They're mobile objectives, so he has 1 here. There's 1 behind that bush over there, and there's another 1 in the hut over here. For deployment, Vin got his boss, Ambrose Burroughs, is down over here. He got Tucson Tim is up in the building up over here. And then who else did you take, Vin? George Polk. George Polk. We got George Polk, the rustler, who's over here watching this. They're just going to have to hold the line for 2 turns until those other guys get in there. For my deployment, I have 2 Buffalo Hunters, and then my Sioux Warrior up there on that flank. And then in the middle, I have the main part of my force over here, which is 3 of the Buffalo Hunters. And then I have my Medicine Man, and then my Chief right there. So those are my 5 guys right there. So this is what the table looks like. We're back in a second to do a recap for turn 1. Like I said, this is our first time filming these battle reports, so it's kind of be a learn as we go thing. We're going to try to stick to the same formula we usually use, and then for future battle reports, we'll probably start making some tweaks to try to fit the game a little bit better. But right now, it's going to be recaps at the end of each turn, so we'll be back in a second for the end of turn 1. We are back for the end of turn 1 recap. For this turn, we ended up both having 13 poker chips in our stacks. So I'll kind of just take it from here. So Vin, he ended up bidding big early. I think he threw down 3 chips. You won the first 3 activations, didn't you? Yeah, he won the first 3 activations. He went big on all the bids, 3 chips. I really couldn't match him, or did I want to? So what Vin ended up doing was he took Mr. Ambrose Burroughs, started him over here. He moved him out to pick up the objective, and then Vin used his free any action card that he had from his hand and moved him a little bit closer. So I guess the plan is going to be to get all the boys in the house over here. Then Vin also activated Mr. George Polk, and George was up over there, picked up the objective. Because they're mobile, he's allowed to take them. He just can't take them out of the deployment zone for the rules for this mission. So George took it back over here. He's also hightailing it all the way over there. And then inside there, Tucson Tim just set himself up for ambush fire if anybody comes in the door that shouldn't be. As far as my turn goes, the 3 Sioux that I had up there, they all pushed down along the river down here, trying to make a push up this flank. And then all the boys in the middle, I got aggressive over here and pushed up with these 2. Those three back there was the Sioux Warrior, and then I had two regular Buffalo Hunters. They pushed up, they fired 2 arrows, and then 1 Hawkins rifle shot. George Polk, they all missed him. So he dodged a couple bullets there. I think I had enough of chips there. I did a re-roll for every one of those. I ended up failing. I needed 7s and 8s with most of my dice rolls based on like the modifiers. So that's what we're looking at here at the end of turn 1 going into turn 2. I don't know, if Vin gets into that house, it's going to be kind of tough to dig him out. I don't have any dynamite or anything to kind of set it on fire. So we might just have to send the boys in one at a time and make a huge mess out of it. So we'll see how it shakes out. Be back in a flash. We are back for the end of turn 2 recap. You know what? It was just a matter of time before Vin found a game that he was going to be really good at and I was going to suck at, and I think this is it. I'm glad I poured all this time into writing it. So for this turn, Vin ended up getting 13 chips in the stack again. I ended up getting 8, I think is what I had. It wasn't good. Like I was at a deficiency to start off. Vin started bidding high in the beginning too, throwing 5s and 6s out. It was pretty crazy. So Vin's first turn, they ended up, he took Ambrose Burroughs, he fired some shots here, failed to wound the medicine man, and then moved into the house. Right after that, I took, you can see this blood splat here where George Polk was. I had one of my Braves, my Buffalo Hunters, run in, try to get an assault off. He ended up taking a nice buckshot round right to the chest, blew him right off his horse and killed him dead on the spot. Vin won the activation after that and pushed George up over to this position here to try to get him cover instead of pushing everybody into the house. He felt like that was going to be a bad play with just Indians pouring through the door. Like I said, since I had limited chips, I wasn't able to do too much there, so I was just able to move Gray Cloud, my warrior, up to the top there and reload that Hawkins rifle, and then I pushed this Buffalo Hunter up over here, fired my bow down, but I failed to hit George Polk once again. Then Vin ended up taking Tucson Tim, pushed him up to this point here out of the house. I was surprised that he did. He put him out over here, and Vin opened up fanning right there. I think he did, after all the damage rolls were done, and since his chip stack was so high, he had like 3 re-rolls. He ended up doing, was it like 5 wounds?
Yeah, I think it was like 5.
Just, he Swiss cheesed the medicine man, like blew him back off his horse, killed him on the spot. So I ended up losing one of my tier 2 characters, which is not good. That means I lose a chip. And Vin gets a victory point for that. So that's the end of turn 2 right now. I'll be coming back in a second for the recap for turn 3. Hopefully, there's no point in hoping. This is bad news. I need to do something this turn before Vin gets the reserves on the table and maybe get one of these objectives in hand before Vin gets all of his reinforcements up here. So we'll be back in a flash. We are back for the bottom of turn 3 or end of turn 3 recap. George G.D. Polk, I swear to God, this guy is... all right, so for our poker chips, I ended up having 10 for this turn. Vin had 9. I thought that was going to help me. It really didn't. So what we ended up doing this turn was on this flank up here, I used Gray Cloud, my Sioux Warrior, to reload his Hawkins rifle and fire down. Ineffective against George Polk behind the bush over there. And then, as you can see, there is another blood splat there because the Buffalo Hunter I had there, I attempted to charge George again, and of course, he opened up with that scatter gun and blew another guy off the horse. I'm learning the hard lesson here that charging into a dude with a shotgun, which makes complete sense, but isn't a good thing to do. But yeah, so it ended up working out pretty well for George once again, and he ended up taking that guy out there pretty early on in the turn. Then for the rest of the turn, there was some fire exchange up here between my War Chief and then Vin's 2 guys that came down on the table over here. I ended up pinning here and plucking off a wound with my Chief fire down here. 2 pretty good dice rolls. The only thing that's really gone well this game over here. And then Vin came on over here and tried to fire at one of my Buffalo Hunters but failed to do anything. Later in that turn, I took the guy that was here and crossed the river and moved him back behind the hut right here. Vin then came out with Tucson Tim, who was sitting over there, opened up some fanning once again, but failed. Vin had a crit and a hit, and then
rolled 3 ones in a row.
Yeah, then rolled 3 ones in a row for damage dice and another roll in between. You can't re-roll ones, and so Vin had ended the turn with a couple extra chips that he couldn't end up using there. And then Ambrose Burroughs in the back ended up going into ambush fire or overwatch, and he's kind of just sitting here defending the 2 objectives that are stacked in the corner of the building right there. So that's what it looks like now at the end of turn 3. The Sioux, I only got 5 guys left. I feel like it's personal now. I feel like George Polk just needs to die. If nothing else happens this game, that's going to be a victory in itself. But we'll be back in a second for the turn 4 recap. We are back for the end of turn 4 recap. For this one, chips wise, Vin had 18 and I had 15, or something like that. They had like 14 or 15 going in, so we were both loaded up, ready to go. To start the turn off, first action that we bid on, it was 7 chips. Once everything was said and done, I had the guy that was behind the house here roll around, get in the close combat with Tucson Tim. I ended up winning the melee roll, and then for damage, I ended up rolling double 10s, which took 4 wounds.
But after you rolled double 3s.
Yeah, I rolled double 3s, and then I burned 2 chips to get the rerolls, and then I ended up rolling 2 10s on that. So I ended up killing Tucson Tim with double 10s, took 4 wounds off. He's a 3-wound character, so he went below 0, so he's shot. That left the Sioux Buffalo Hunter in that position. The very next action, Vin activated. Who was this down here?
This was George Polk?
No, it wasn't George.
Oh, yeah, George is sorry, George. It was
Charlie Dupree. Charlie Dupree right down here. Vin had a card to remove his pin status. Vin then took an aim action and ended up firing down at the guy who ended up killing Tucson Tim. Vin ended up smoking him. He killed him on the spot. I had to make morale test for my faction because I'm below 50%. I had my war chief plus 2 morale. I had a headdress plus 1 morale. So that means I only needed a roll of a 3 to pass the morale test for the faction. I rolled a 2, and that was the end of the game. My Sioux ended up breaking off the table. Vin ended up holding on, held his loot. The raid was a failure. I'll be back in a second to go over the end of game recap. Oh, this is just a whooping, but we'll talk about it in a second. We'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the end of game recap. Like I said, this ended up going pretty much to like the middle of turn 4 over here. A lot went wrong. So my original plan was with the Sioux to push up along the river with Chief Crooked Branch and my 2 Buffalo Hunters and try to either swing back and get pressure on the house or continue to move down here and cross over at the river crossing here and put pressure on Vin's backside of his line down here with the reserves coming in. Obviously, it didn't pan out because what happened over here in the middle totally just stunted that. I had to keep these guys up there for support. The plan for the guys in the middle here was to push straight ahead and then put as much pressure on George Polk as possible, try to kill him, and then get that objective and take it off the table as quickly as possible. I had some cards in there that ended up adding to my movement. I would be able to get it done pretty quickly. Unfortunately, Mr. George Polk down here with his scatter gun, he had the sawed-off shotgun. I mean, Vin was on point with the Western checks to see if the defensive fire went off, then it hit me with the aim test, and then all the damage dice. And then, when you run an Outlaw List, usually you have a decent stack just dedicated for rerolls or any of the little extra stuff that you want to do, and it really paid off for Vin early in the game. Like I said, that was a defensive fire kill. The guy over here was a defensive fire kill. It's like George Polk just held it down. This was kind of the focus of what I wanted to do, was get him off the table and then wheel everybody back into when Vin pulled back into the house over there and try to overwhelm him before reserves can get stuck up over there. But yeah, Vin's dice were really good. George Polk was really good.
Yeah, George Polk was definitely star of the
game. He was star of the game. But yeah, that was kind of the plan here, what I was going for. But like I said, it didn't pan out. As soon as the Medicine Man dropped, I felt like things were going to go pretty bad because I had him set up for some bonuses and stuff that he could hand out to other guys. But yeah, when he got dropped back here, I knew the assault on this position was going to be a little bit rougher. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. But I don't know, Vin, what were you thinking as far as how you set up and what your thoughts were as far as defending your loot?
So my initial plan, half of it worked. So the initial plan was to get the main guy, since when I pulled that card for the double move, any free action, was to get him here and then rush into the house as fast as possible and have 2 objectives in there. But the one thing that I really wanted to kind of make it look like was I was going to keep both guys in here in ambush, but I knew I was going to bring out Tim to the corner and actually start shooting. My whole goal was to just get the main guy in there and just pretty much kind of play like a movie theme where it's just like keep the
You can't keep the loot safe and then send your pawns out to do the dirty work.
Exactly. That's pretty much what I was going for there. Now, the thing with George Polk, that was actually pretty funny. George Polk, I was actually planning to get him around here.
On the back side of the house?
Yeah, just to kind of watch, like, the rear side to potentially stop what happened to him, but obviously that didn't happen. And it kind of worked out even better with him, you know, kind of going there. So what I realized with him when I was in the middle, when you had everybody out front, I was just like, well, like, he's not going to make it to the house, so let's try to make it back.
Get back to the bush.
Yeah, just get back to any possible cover that he could, which worked out great. And then these two at the bottom, I was going to move him to hard cover to cover this side, and him I was going to move somewhere over here. I didn't really decide yet. Didn't have to.
Yeah, didn't need to because stuff worked out.
Yeah, so like his whole goal was just to watch the river and just like maybe like buy a couple rounds, and then I was going to just use the window.
Crossfire and deal with that.
Yeah, so he would have a little bit of cover, and it all worked out.
Yeah,
well.
like I said, going into this one, I knew the Outlaws were going to play pretty good. I mean, it's like I said, it's an elite list, especially with all those guys kind of just loaded out the way they were. But man,
yeah, like the thing that
I got those first two turns with none of those assaults going off. Like that was rough. Painful. Yeah,
but that's the thing. Like they don't have well, at least the list that was built, they weren't really heavy on distance except for two, which are the guys that came in reserve.
Oh yeah, the lever actions. Yep.
Yeah, and I thought about bringing one of those on the table, but I was just like, the beginning, my thought was just get everybody to a safe spot as quickly as possible. So, and I knew with horses you'd be charging me, so it was better to leave the guys that had the heavier hits.
Well, what you did worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
But all right, we're gonna wrap it up here. First game of Gunslinger's Paradise. It's the dawn of a new age for Vin.
Oh yeah.
This might be Vin's game. This might be Vin's game. I'm gonna get a taste of my own medicine here.
Yeah, I was actually excited when you were writing it.
So we'll see how this shakes out. We play a little bit more. I hope you guys liked. If you got any suggestions on as far as how you guys want to see things get shot, let us know. Let us know what you guys think about the game, and we'll catch you guys later.